All right, everybody. Hey, this is Tyler Woodall, and today I've got a few really cool guests with me. We've got Ryan, Boyd, and Adam. Ryan and Boyd are some of the team at GiveawayPad. A lot of our clients work with them. We've seen a lot of success. I just want to show it to you guys just so that you can make the decision. Is this something that's beneficial inside of our agency, or is it a resource we could use? So, Ryan or Boyd, do y'all want to kick us off?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for the intro, Tyler. And yeah, we love working with you. So often the agencies that we work with, they start to scale up with leads and then they realize that their people are too busy doing service work and doing all those types of things. So there's a very good symbiotic relationship
Yeah.
here. Um, but yeah, where did you want to start? Did we introduce Adam? Adam is Mid
Yeah.
Valley Insurance, so he's been a client of ours for a little over a year. Absolute rock star. I mean, I think you were like 3 months into your agency and you signed up with us, and I mean, immediately you just started seeing results, and so we loved introducing you to some of our other clients and helping other people to try to become rock stars like you. Not everyone has it in them, but you are a rock star. So
It is a grind. It is definitely a grind. Starting independent, hitting the phones, getting after it, writing business. So
yeah.
I guess the first spot, I mean, tell me about what is Giveaway Pad? What is the process like? How'd you guys get into this? Because it is very foreign to a lot of agents.
Yeah, so I think that kind of where we came up. In fact, I'll give you the backstory, and I think that that will help you guys to understand the hole that we fill in the market. Our very first client, who's now a very good friend of mine, but I met him. He had just started an all-state agency. I think he had been in business a little over a year, and he was just spending a ton of money on internet leads and live transfers and trying to do mailers. And as you guys know, it's an absolute bloodbath out there. When you are going after the sub 1% that's shopping, I mean, everyone gets their teeth and their claws out, and they're just right. Like you put your name on EverQuote, and you might as well go buy a new phone number at that point because it's
Yeah.
so intense. And so, anyways, we partnered with him and we ran his first giveaway, and in his first month, he was already outselling what he was spending on all of his other lead sources. And I mean, we were like a fifth of the cost, if not less than that, of what he was doing with all his other lead sources. And the reason people love our leads is we actually go after the other 99%, right? The non-shoppers. And so we figured out how to leverage giveaways, right? So sweepstake style giveaways. They're very effective at getting people's attention while they're on Facebook, because most of the time people are on Facebook to have fun and connect with friends, right? And so you have to have something that really gets them to stop scrolling. And so we're leveraging things that people already have interest in to get them to stop scrolling and to get them to engage with you as an insurance company. Now, that's only half the equation, right? It's easy to get someone to say, hey, I like Taylor Swift, right? What's a little bit more challenging is how do you get someone to say, hey, I like Taylor Swift, and I'm willing to get an insurance quote from you as an insurance agency. And that's the piece that, a lot of agencies can figure out how to generate leads on their own with giveaways, but a lot of them can't quite figure out how do I get them to go from point A of entering the giveaway to point B of actually getting a quote. So, aside from being a fully managed service where we generate those exclusive leads for you at around $1 a piece, we also have probably the most important part of what we do is we have a coaching component where we will meet with you regularly to help you and your team to really adopt the strategy and to figure out how do I get them from point A to point B so that I can really improve my quote output.
That's cool.
So
That's awesome.
hopefully did that answer your question?
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Okay, so I to recap, you guys help agencies to run giveaways, which generates tons of people that aren't necessarily looking for insurance, but they have an interest. And then you guys have a component where it's coaching and actually your process where you teach them how to take those interested people into insurance shoppers now only with this agency.
Correct. And
Okay.
it can be a little bit of a sticking point for some people, right? Like, hey, these people are not actively shopping for insurance, right? But if you can kind of shift the paradigm and recognize the beauty for what it is, one, everyone under the sun is not going after this person. So especially for agencies, right? Our top agency type is Allstate. Allstate is comprised of about 60% of our client base. And anyone that knows Allstate, they are not the cheapest insurance on the market. But they do really well on our leads because we're connecting them with people that probably haven't looked at their insurance in 5 to 10 years. Right. And they don't realize how much they can save by switching. And so, you just have to recognize the mechanisms for what they are and see them for the good that they are. And that is, it gives you a really easy way to get a lot of people on the phone willing to have a conversation with you about your insurance that you offer. And then you just got to give them a reason. And price can be a reason, service can be a reason, right? A lot of people are chronically underinsured. That's a great reason. But if you can understand the mechanism that the giveaway plays, and that's what we coach you for, then it becomes a very, very valuable asset to your business.
That's awesome. I love that. Okay, so next question really is, why do producers like working with you guys? So Ryan or Boyd, you can answer this, or Adam, you may be the best to answer this. Y'all take it away. Let me know how you'd like to progress.
Yeah, you want me to jump in?
Let's hear from I want to hear from Adam first, and then I'd love to hear from you, Boyd.
Okay. Yeah, no, I can definitely give my input on this. And the question you're asking is like why producers or why agencies, like why we love these leads and understanding like the mechanics versus this type of lead versus like your regular online lead, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. So kind of to like Ryan's point, on our side of the business and stuff, you have your 1% that are shoppers, you can get those through EverQuote, Quote Wizard. There's tons of companies out there that will make your phone ring. But here's the hard part. Those clients, they are also talking to the 3 other agencies that are around the corner, around the block, throughout the state, some of the national agencies. So it really is like a race to the bottom nickel to win the business, which is hard. Another thing that's really hard with that demographic as well, is they're always shopping no matter what. So like they get a renewal that's $10 higher than what they were paying. They're then going to that same, website they put their information in first time ever, quote wizard, and then, having a bombardment of agents reach out to them again, and switching again, or, trying to get you to drop your price, that kind of thing. So it overloads the service work. And then they're just kind of cheap overall. They don't see the value of coverage and getting an accurate proposal for their situation. Kind of to Ryan's point, why I love these for my agency and why my producer loves these leads too is it is that 99% that's not actively shopping, so they're not talking to another agency out there. At the same time too, they actually are taking what you have as expertise, taking that to heart, especially when you point out those differences of hey, maybe you're underinsured. We've had clients where we run their RCE on their home and they're $100,000 short on their current policy, or we even had one where she gained a substantial amount of wealth and she's still running around on state minimums, and we gave those we've had that happen in a few situations, but we're able to offer those higher coverages. Sometimes there is a savings, and that's one driver of it, but realizing that you are underinsured too is going to be another driver too, to make that switch and build that urgency and get them switched over to become a client of your agency. Another thing that's really nice with the giveaways, and I'm not sure if other agency owners feel the same way, but I think when you have certain giveaways that you also like what you're giving away, whether it's a concert ticket or a sporting event or any kind of amusement park or something that you've also participated in locally, you can talk to that. They realize you are a local person as well, and you have a common interest, and it's like selling insurance to a friend. And who better can you trust than your friends and family members to take care of your insurance needs. So it really is a nice touch, and that's what we love using GiveawayPad over here.
That's awesome.
I love what Adam said there, that it really feels like you're selling to a friend. Like that's really the point of this, is let's gain a relationship. And I think that's something that the agency owners, of course, love, because we do get the feedback that, hey, they're stickier. Like you said, it's not that crowd that's switching every 6 months. But there's some things that you're mentioning that I keep hearing in the back of my head. There's this chance to talk to somebody that's not competing, because it's more of that set it and forget it crowd. you know, you also seem to tend to, there's a slightly higher item count, you know, and they're 50 to 70% homeowners. We have a much bigger pool, like Ryan was saying, the 99% that are not shopping, big market. The kind of the key, because I can hear this question, well, you know, if I want to go and use a giveaway, wouldn't that make the leads terrible? We're giving away one prize every 3 months. Yeah, that's kind of why we don't seem to have any competitors. You know, we fix that by showing it to the right people and then teaching you how to convert them. But when you get in there and realize the bulk of these, because we have this bigger market, are standard and preferred, now each call is worth more too.
Right.
So we get producers, just talking to one yesterday that's done probably over a dozen giveaways, 4 or 5 years with us. And she's just going, I love that they want to talk to me. I'm building a real relationship, and they've got multiple items per call. So it's a really high volume of quotes and then a really high volume of items per call, and it all kind of adds up. I would say those are some of the reasons that people really like them. We also have a higher contact rate. So, and Adam, tell me if I'm wrong here, but I hear this all the time that the average answer rate on most internet leads is 5 to 20%. And you know, that could be in 10 plus calls per lead, where here we're shooting more for a 50 to 60% answer rate in about 3
Wow.
calls. So
Tell me some of the metrics as much as you can, because obviously people listening are going to be all over the country. What's a realistic kind of estimate people can go off of? Hey, if I work with GiveawayPad, how many quotes can I get per month? And then what is my cost per quote going to be? Because that's going to be their easiest way to figure out. Because cost per lead, you can pay a ton if you're doing like live transfers, or you can pay really little if it's just some of the internet data. And then the kind of the quality is going to vary from there.
I'd love to hear
Well,
from Adam again on that. Oh, go
No.
ahead, Ryan.
I want to, before we move on to that point, I do want to get to the data. But one
Yeah.
thing that I wanted to touch on, just to tie into what Adam and Boyd said on the last point, is one thing that's really unique about our leads is it gives you the ability to get in the friend zone with these people that you're bringing on board, right? When someone signs up for an insurance quote, if you get on and start just shooting the breeze with them, they're like, what is going on? I want an insurance quote. Let's go, right?
Yeah.
And not only that, but like the start, people know it's a 20, 30-minute conversation. And so the stars have to align perfectly of when you call and them being in a position that even if they want it, they may never pick up the phone because those stars may never.
Right.
Whereas with us, like there's some ambiguity in why we're calling. We're calling about the giveaway first, and we leverage that to get people excited and get people talking about them. And we focus very intentionally on family-oriented prizes, so we get them talking about the people that are most important to them. And it's just such an easy way to build a lot of trust before we even get to talking about insurance. You know, if you can become their friend first, right? Think about how many times you've bought from a friend and you're not even thinking about. I mean, price certainly still plays a role, but it plays much less of a role because you trust who you're talking to.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Wanted to touch on that. Jumping into some of the numbers of what people can expect, and actually, let's have Adam share some of his results, and then I'll tell you kind of some of the typical numbers that we see.
Yeah. And I mean, for me, especially when I first started with Ryan, you know, I had that hesitation and, you know, the GiveawayPad, you know, is this the right, you know, so I was a little bit more diligent on doing my calculations. And now, you know, I've seen the system work and stuff. I'm not as tight on my calculations as before. But when I calculated it, you know, my first couple months, I mean, our cost per quote was anywhere from about $12 to about $14 cost per quote. That is a quote of the total household. If, you know, some of the listeners are talking, you know, items like Allstate, you know, the average household we quote, they usually have anywhere from 4 to 6 items, sometimes even more.
That's incredible. That's awesome. Okay, so what's your background? Ryan and Boyd, we've talked a little bit. Obviously, we've talked for a while behind the scenes. So I know sometimes captives are a lot better at the actual sales than independents, although independents have a lot more options. Adam, tell me about your background.
So for me, I've been in the insurance industry since about 2016. I've had my license since then, and I've pretty much done mostly everything when it comes to insurance. I've done the Medicare stuff. I've did non-standard, standard preferred. I've worked for national agencies where, we sold all across the country, and, we've done the campaigns where we bought Quote Wizard data a lot, EverQuote leads, those kind of things. So I've seen all that stuff play out. And, when I made the decision to open up my own agency over those years, the best strategies I saw were working with people that weren't shopping and just building those relationships. And that's really what helped grow the book the most. That's why I went this direction with GiveawayPad. But
Cool.
yeah, I mean, I've done, some stuff with the Medicare and life and that kind of stuff. I don't really do much with that now, but I've done, lots of the auto or where, your standard preferred kind. It's, those kind of things.
That's cool. That's awesome. So Ryan and Boyd, do y'all want to talk a little bit about that as far as who sees the most success working with you guys?
Well, it's a little bit interesting. Obviously, if an agency has not competitive rates at all, you can be someone's best friend in the world. If you're going to double their insurance, it's going to be very hard to close.
Yep.
But what we find is the agencies that are malleable, I don't know how else to say that. Agencies that are not afraid of new ideas and that are willing to learn tend to be the ones that do the best on our program, because we are very different from what most agencies out there are used to. And we've spent a lot of time really honing in our scripting, honing in how frequently you're calling, when to call, all those types of things. And sometimes people come in and they're like, I've been selling insurance for 20 years. I don't need to learn from these, goons. And those are the ones that always fail. They're like, oh, these leads suck. Quality's all trash, right? And we're like, listen, the quality sucks because you're not following our process. And the only people that are picking up the phone are the sucky ones, right? And that is, we can see it very clearly in our data. We can see how many people of our leads are homeowners. And we can see when they're calling, they're not following the process, that none of the good ones are picking up the phone.
Right.
And so, they have to have somewhat competitive rates, and they have to be willing to learn. And obviously they have to be willing to work hard. We are not a work-free strategy, right? You're making calls. We have automation that helps you and supplements that. But the reality is you have to be willing to get on the phone and make a call. And you have to be good with people, right? We're a very relationship-oriented strategy. So you got to be willing to actually care. If you don't care about people, go buy EverQuote leads. That's what I say.
Right. So I know the way that we met, a very close friend of mine was working with you guys and still has been for a few years. And he added 6 figures a month in premium just off of your leads. Tell me about, what do most agencies see?
Want me to throw out some ranges?
That's a question. Boyd, I'll let you answer that one.
Okay. And these things change over time, right? But as of a few years ago, back before all the rate increases and things are a little more consistent, we've seen some states, they've tripled their rates. Others have gone up 50%. So to try and give some honest answers here, there's going to be some variability between agency and state. But our nationwide average, with all state agencies, a couple years ago was 15 to 40,000. Farmers 20 to 50,000, independents 20 to 75,000, and new premium per month closed from our leads. We do have a handful doing over 100,000, like you mentioned. But that's what was really interesting, to go back to what Ryan was highlighting, and what gets me juiced to wake up every morning and help agencies, is that the agencies that always break those ranges seem to have a few things in common. They're enthusiastic, friendly, they're having fun with it. It's always fun when everybody's winning. And that's the reality that we can get to, is if we follow this process, everybody wins. It wasn't that the agencies breaking the ranges had more producers or necessarily bought more leads or spent more money. It was really, they were just more meticulous about sticking to the 60-second script, building rapport for a few minutes, making all 3 calls per lead. Those are some of the things that we really focus on with our agencies. And those that do that, they do really well, as long as they can write business in their state. So if you're quoting everybody and you're already out of 10 presentations, you're triple their current rate on 9 out of 10. I'd probably not buy any leads. Hold off for a bit, get another carrier in there. But yeah, you can really do, and there's more than one way to scale. Like you mentioned, some agencies make more than the recommended number of calls we make, and they increase certain metrics. But that's what's kind of neat is we get people that jump in and they go, "Oh, this is a lot better than what we were doing. It seems like I'm getting more quotes, and they're good quotes." And then we'll take a look at them with our private coaching program and go, "Hey, what if we could help you increase even more without spending any more time or money?" So we
That's
really
awesome.
do get in the trench a lot with them and help them shoot for those bigger ranges. I always say that guys that come in and they're already the personality type that audits their team, if you're auditing your team for what works the same way in week 52 like you did in week 5, those tend to be the agencies that stay with us for years to come.
That's awesome.
I'm going to ruffle some feathers here, but a lot of agencies out there do not sell. A lot of agencies just want to be order takers, right? And they just want to get on, ask what they want, present a price, and get a yes or no out of people. And if that's sales, then every McDonald's order taker is a professional salesperson. You know what I mean? And so you do have to know how to sell and actually build some urgency and build value and build real relationships. And so there is definitely variability when it comes to how much people get, right? We've seen instances where we have 2 Allstate agencies, same exact states. We know that all their rates and everything are the same. And this one over here is selling 50 grand a month. And this one over here is like, these leads are trash. I haven't sold a single thing, right? And the only variable there is the people.
Yep.
And so, and the way in which they're going about selling. And so it becomes pretty clear that, you do have to know how to sell and that you have to be good with people.
That's cool.
That's why they're very
At to Ryan's point, I did go to a lunch here with a agent friend of mine. We were talking about competition out there, and I mean, I couldn't agree more with what Ryan had to say. The competition for the insurance market is very weak because a lot of them, they're like McDonald's order takers. You want this, you don't want that. Okay, like this. Can you become a good crafty salesperson, take a consultative approach, be the professional you are and actually point out where the flaws are in their current policy, be their friend, have that good, relationship, build that rapport. Yeah, you're going to be closing a lot of deals with this system.
That's the difference between an order taker and a doctor, right? You take a prescriptive approach of really analyzing what they're doing and helping them to understand what it is that they need. How many people go to the doctor and they're like, "You need this." And they're like, "Nah." It never happens. Never happens.
Right.
And so if you can take the same approach and really establish yourself as an expert and actually diagnose the problem and help them understand why they need something, then people are way more likely to move forward. It's just a matter of when and how.
That's cool. Well, let's say we've got an agent or an agency owner that's listening to this right now and they're curious, they want to grow their sales, they are open and malleable to trying new things. What do they need to do?
Best bet would be just go to GiveawayPad.com and fill out an application. We tried really hard to only partner with agencies that we really feel will do well on our program. It's important.
Ready for it.
We're not just here to take your money. We're here to grow your business. And so that application will help us to know if you're even in a position to have a conversation with us. And then, if you qualify on that form, then we'll book a consult and we'll really diagnose where you're at and help you to assess whether or not we feel like a giveaway is the next best thing for your agency.
That's cool. That's awesome. Well, I know we wanted to keep this somewhat short for people. Are there any last thoughts you want to leave agency owners or any tips for anybody that's curious on growing their agency, whether it's with you guys or they try and just keep doing it their own selves because they know they're not open to running giveaways?
Maybe Adam, I'd love to hear from you on agencies that are skeptical of whether or not it works, skeptical on whether or not we deliver. Just sharing any insights that you might have there.
Yeah, no, I'd love to. I think one thing I would like to share with GiveawayPad, it's a great lead source to work with. They're a great company to partner with, and they really can help take your business to the next level. And I've seen that with starting my agency, bring in GiveawayPad, and your team on board to kind of help scale the leads and start writing new business. I think it's a great system. The results they promise, they do deliver. Something to keep in mind. I will say a few notes, especially if you are wanting to have that success, you got to come in, you got to be coachable, you got to work hard, and you got to make the calls. It's not like, they just do the marketing, the policies are going to go on your book. You got to do what you do as a professional, as an agent, to be there for the clients and make it happen. But I would say it's if you're on the fence and you're willing to work hard, this is the right system for you. If you're on the fence and you're kind of so with your effort, maybe you'll do it for a week. Second week you're going to drop off. You want to only do things how you've been doing it for the last 5 years. It's probably not the system for you. Maybe you need to keep spending money at, Quote Wizard, EverQuote, spend more money that way, and hope that the policy sticks for 2 or 3 years to get your return on investment. But if you're willing to be coachable, I think this is the system for you.
And it is a tango, right? Like, we will deliver opportunities to your door, and we even guarantee 100 quotes per month as long as you do your part as an agency owner, i.e. call the leads, follow the script. And we have never had anyone not hit those metrics that is doing those things. You call the leads and you follow our script, we got people doing 200 to 300 quotes per month, right? Even more than that. And so it really is a tango, and we will do everything we can within our power to help you guys hit those numbers and grow your agency. So
that's cool. That's perfect. Awesome, guys. Well, thank you. I think this was great. Again, agency owners out there, if you need any help, GiveawayPad.com. Reach out to the guys, at least have a conversation and just see if it looks like something that may be beneficial to your agency.
Awesome. Thank you, Tyler.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.